Hi everyone, I'm Matt from Looking to Bitcoin. And today we're going to be looking at when we are likely to see a new Bitcoin all-time high. To do this, we'll be using a number of resources that are all freely available on lookintobitcoin.com, your number one source for Bitcoin information. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to ensure you're receiving all of our content as soon as it's released. So right now we're just on the stock to flow model chart here. And whether you buy into the stock to flow thesis or not, the thesis that we can model Bitcoin's fair value in relation to its scarcity and the supply changes after each halving event. We won't really go too much into that. What we can say with almost certainty is after each of these halving events, Bitcoin does have a positive reaction in price. So the halving event, if you weren't already aware, is every 4 years the inflationary rate of Bitcoin is cut in half. So right now, 6.25 new Bitcoin are mined by the Bitcoin miners about every 10 minutes. And probably early 2024, as this is set on a number of blocks rather than a set 4-year cycle, but we can say around April 2024, when the next halving event occurs, this block reward will be cut to 3.125 Bitcoin. If we actually go onto the miner revenue in block rewards here, we can see that after each of these halving events, the number of Bitcoin that miners actually earn per day typically goes down by about 50%, it halves. So we can see this is a pretty significant fundamental event for Bitcoin and the entire crypto industry due to the fact that the supply and demand economics and just general interest in the space usually undergoes a significant change following this event. What we can also do is if we go onto TradingView here, we can actually line up these halving events in the past and the next halving event in the future when it's currently estimated to occur and see the impact on price following these events to actually try and get an idea of when we could maybe see a new all-time high. So we can see in each one of these, like we said, halving events in the following weeks and months, we almost always have a very positive reaction in price. So we're going to exclude the positive reaction in price we may see in the lead up to this event because we haven't ever broken the previous all-time high we set in the bull cycles of the past before the halving event. We can see we usually have a strong rebound, but until we actually cut the inflationary rate in half, we've never seen a new all-time high compared to the previous bull cycle. So following these events, how long does it usually take to set a new all-time high? Well, we can say in the 2012 halving here, it took not very long at all, just about 90 days, 3 months time. In the 2016 halving event, we can see this isn't an exact science, but we broke through at around 250 days, so a bit longer, but still not more than a year, not a significant period of time. And in May 2020, we can say we broke it in around 210, just over 200 days. So around 7 months, 9 months, and 3 months. So how does that actually line up with the current halving schedule and where that's likely to take place? Well, we'll exclude the first Bitcoin halving event here just because that's really a quite significant difference in just general economic factors. The entire market has grown and matured. So we'll focus on the recent 2 halvings and see how that price action lined up would actually look if we overlaid that onto the chart. So here I've overlaid the price action following the previous halving events and the impact that had on the Bitcoin price and also the period of time it took to reach a new all-time high in the previous cycles, so we can overlay where price may be at the halving event. And if we were to follow the price action of the most recent halving event in 2020, as we said before, it'd be around 200 days, between 6 and 7 months to actually reach a new all-time high to break through this near $70,000 line. And if we go back to 2016, that was a little bit longer, closer to 9 months, just under 9 months to actually reach a new all-time high. Interestingly enough, if we actually overlay these, we can see Bitcoin in both circumstances is actually sat at a very similar price if we actually take into account the time factor to reach a new all-time high. Both of them anticipate Bitcoin to be at around $40,000 at the time of the halving. So in just under a year's time, we may see Bitcoin rally about another 50% to the upside before really kicking off after this halving event. So after this halving event, after we've hopefully broke into new all-time highs, so hopefully either in October 2024 or by December or January 2025, we could maybe see Bitcoin continue to rally for the following months after that. And what we can actually see is run up here to see Bitcoin may actually peak after this halving event maybe 320 days following if we were to follow the 2015-2016 cycle, or if we were to follow the most recent 2020-2021 cycle, we could maybe see Bitcoin begin to peak again at a very similar period of time after that, just under a year. So after the halving event, after we've broken through to new all-time highs, it usually takes about a year to set the peak in the Bitcoin price. So a fairly decent amount of time we probably have left to accumulate as much Bitcoin as we can to continue stacking sats in anticipation of higher prices. As we've said here, this is of course some speculation, but if we were to see around a $40,000 Bitcoin at the time of the next halving in April 2024, 6 to 9 months after that, break through that $70,000 all-time high level. And we're not going to focus too much on potential price predictions here, but we could say if we were potentially going to run up for the next year following that new all-time high, we could maybe see Bitcoin begin to top out in late 2025. So looking at Bitcoin's typical 4-year cycles, which is strongly influenced by the halving event, we can expect Bitcoin to peak around 12 to 18 months after approximately April 2024, which would bring us to about Q4 2025, that November, December region potentially. We can also expect Bitcoin to surpass our current all-time high just beneath $70,000 around 6 to 9 months after the halving event, which would likely be again around Q4 2024. So potentially new all-time high, late 2024, and about 12 months after that, we may see a new peak set in the next Bitcoin bull cycle. However, we are seeing lengthening Bitcoin cycles as the asset class grows and matures. Just by pretty simple mathematics, supply and demand economics, it's considerably harder to move an asset up 50% when it's valued at about $1 trillion compared to moving an asset up 50% when it's only valued at about $10 billion or so. It just requires significantly more capital to do so. This is why we're seeing Bitcoin maybe not have as extortionately high returns, and maybe we're seeing the actual volatility of the asset begin to decrease slightly as we have these, as we said, lengthening cycles. We also need to take into account that there may be external market and global fundamental factors that influence these timings. So be prepared, because a huge global recession obviously might throw a spanner in the works with our Bitcoin plans. But all we need to do is be prepared for any situation, be reactive, and try not to be too predictive. Of course, this is just a little bit of fun, but I wouldn't complain at a new all-time high as early as 2024. If you like the video, then please visit lookintobitcoin.com, where you can also consider becoming a site subscriber to gain access to live chats, in-depth newsletters, indicator alerts, private TradingView scripts, and more, all for a fraction of the standard industry price. Let me know in the comments down below and on social media, when do you anticipate Bitcoin may make a new all-time high, and when do you think we could actually peak in the next bull cycle? I look forward to reading and replying to all of them. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.